I have with me one more person who lost his entire family, his father, his little sister, his stepmother. Let me introduce to you Sanjay Lazar. He joins me to tell me more about what happened on that fateful day. Sanjay, thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming to the channel. And what I want to know about you, for how and when did you hear about the 1985 attack? And when did you get the news that your all three members of your family had perished in the attack?
I heard about the attack on the same day itself, and I had, my sister's godparents who came over and then took me to their place and told me about it. I was a kid then, and I flew out to London that very day to go to find out about it and identify the bodies. Yeah.
Sanjay, obviously a very difficult time for you. You yourself said you're a very little kid trying to decipher what's happened. You've lost your entire family. You must have been weeping for days, weeks together. How did you react to all that? How long did it take for you to come to terms with the tragic loss?
My father was the in-flight supervisor operating the flight. My mother and sister were on a holiday. I was supposed to join them. I didn't go with them. Of course, I felt terrible and devastated. It was just mind-numbing and shocking. And I really had no words. Yeah, I spent the next month there, waiting and looking for the bodies.
Yes, since then, you've also penned a book, a memoir, homage to your parents who lost their lives in the attack. Meanwhile, you've also spoken about the Canadian government and what is it that the victims have been expecting of it, and has the Canadian government fallen short of the expectations of the families who've lost their family members in this tragic terror attack? Do you think the Canadian government has done enough to give closure to the families?
Actually, no government has done enough. Neither the Canadian nor the Indian, only the Irish have done enough. And there are people who have forgotten that it existed. There are people who have manipulated the entire narrative in Canada. And it's very, very sad and tragic that 331 people gave up their lives on that day in Tokyo and in Ireland. And people still haven't learned lessons from that.
I know you were a little child. I don't know if you would be tracking this entire case, the proceedings, the trial, but finally when you got the sense of what was really happening, when you grew up and you look back at the trial, do you think it was a satisfactory court verdict and were the legal proceedings up to mark in the case?
No, ma'am. I went in 2005 for the core criminal hearing. I was very dissatisfied. I felt robbed. I felt cheated. And I felt like my family had died again. And we lobbied and kept writing letters to various government officials, both in India and in Canada. And then finally, Canada relented. And then we had the Justice John Major inquiry, which then took another couple of years. But that was not criminal. So really the criminals got away here.
Talking about the conviction that did not happen really, the terrorists were let go, they were scot-free. There were 3 of these people who were tried in the cases. There were charges against him. Only one got the punishment. Only one was put behind bars. He was convicted in the case, and that too for manslaughter, not for a terrorist attack. Why do you think that happened? Was there enough evidence for the Canadian authorities to then pin down these terrorists, these extremists, the ones who were perpetrators of the attack?
If you go through the records, you will find the initial trial of course, Parmar got away. But, Bagri and Malik, a lot of the witnesses either died mysteriously or killed or refused to remember or just didn't. And I think the court did not place too much reliance or did not trust the witnesses who came forward, who gave detailed testimony implicating Malik and Bagri. And unfortunately, that was the Canadian way. And what Rayat got charged was what not, he got charged with a much lesser charge of being the bomb maker and then of manslaughter. So completely different, conspiracy to blow up an aircraft and kill 331 people is quite different from a manslaughter charge. And 2 people got away scot-free. 3 actually. Parmar 2. So.
Yeah. Yes. You're talking about Bagri and talk about Malik. Obviously, we're talking about Bagri, Ajab Singh Bagri. He's the lone surviving person who was, there was a trial against him. He was not convicted. He continues to be in Canada. He's in Surrey currently and continues to spread the pro-Khalistani agenda. Would you want the case to be reopened and action be taken against Bagri?
Reopening the case is a criminal trial, and the criminal trial has actually been concluded. And of course, I'd like it, to be looked at again. Yes, of course. But is that legally possible? As a lawyer, I don't believe that you can try the same man again for the same crime. But they should have been behind bars for the rest of their life. All 3 of them. 2 of them got bullets, and recently, we've heard of the 3rd. So yeah, of course, we'd like to have all of them, pay the penalty. Yeah.
Another question, Sanjay, do you think the Canadian government has been giving safe havens to the Khalistani extremists and terrorists in Canada, and the stance that has been taken by India is well deserved in terms of action that needs to be taken? And is there a way that India can force Canada to do so by degrading our diplomatic terms and trade terms with them?
I lost my entire family, my father, my stepmother, my sister. I was 17 then. And I fought over the last 38 years, to let their voice be heard. Canada has become a soft target. It's become a safe haven for radicals of all the world. And if you go back into history, you'll find even Sri Lankan separatists were there and other countries' separatists. They've all sought refuge, even Chinese, in Canada. And that's exactly what's happening with these Khalistani radicals. I've covered all this in my book, which is on Angel's Wings, which releases in a month from now. And it's a trilogy which will cover the entire history of this bombing and the problem and how Canada dealt with it and how they didn't deal with it. So yes, of course, Canada has become, a state that harbors people who want to secede or bring terrorism upon other countries.
What is the message, Sanjay, that you would like to give to the Canadian government? What appeal do you make to the Canadian government? Do you think Canada should do something and sooner than later to give closure to the families of the victims?
Closure can only come with justice. So the first thing is justice. They need to give justice. If they cannot give justice, which in this case, I do not think that they'll ever be able to give us justice. We're not seeking vengeance. It is a clear and present admission of facts, and the story has never really come out. And secondly, I think Canada still needs to, revise laws related to terrorism, anti-terrorism, secessionism. Freedom of speech is fine, but where do you draw the line? You draw the line at saying, let's kill the Indian diplomats, or do you draw the line at saying, let's bomb an Air India aircraft, or let's kill a prime minister? There has to be a line in civil society, and I think Canada needs to understand that, or they're going to become, like any of the basket case civilizations we've seen in the last 100 years across mankind.
Thank you, Sanjay, for joining us on the telecast, sharing your story.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.